Subshredders, my name is Logan, aka Spiderhands, and welcome to SB Reviews, where today I'm going to be listening through an album by an act named Carl Anderson, and this album is titled Missouri Breaks. I'm just going to load up the album out here so we can check it out. Switching over to here, we are, of course, we're on Bandcamp, and this is the album out here. It's I see you, Mr. UFO. Interesting. I'm walking on a boulevard there. The first track is called UFO. Well, there we go. So we've got 8 tracks, about 41 minutes. We've got Carl Anderson. We've got all songs by Carl Anderson, produced by Carl Anderson and Marvin Menz, mixed, mastered by Marvin Menz at Tide Studio, guitar, bass, piano, keys by Carl Anderson, drums by Jim Dooley, saxophone by Jordan Mazza, and newsreader Nick Heaven. So we're going to listen to this track, we're going to listen to this album from start to finish, and we're going to hear what we think. Let's go.
I seen 3 bulky looking creatures coming toward us, and they was probably 4.5, 5 foot tall. They built like football players, but I noticed they kind of moved mechanical wise, and they was floating off the ground.
Interesting. Hell of an introduction, actually. That was really intriguing. Oh yeah, you've got a real kind of surf rock vibe to this, don't you? With the emergency alarm there. Dope. Yeah, I'm liking how this has all been done. I'm liking the way the guitar, bass, drums, and everything else is sitting in the mix, and there is a nice, cool guitar riff that's carrying everything.
By the time we stood up and turned around, they was there on us all at one time. So 2 of them got a hold of Charlie, 1 of them got a hold of myself, and instantly I felt like that I just got relaxed. There was an examination room, what I call it. And the old big ugly creature that brought me in, he took me and laid me on an examination table, and he just backed up out of the way. I couldn't move or anything.
Oh, we've got a lead guitar. Okay, so this is talking about some supernatural stuff going on. All right, I see you there. I catch what's being put forward. That's cool. That's all right. We've got some unison bends going on with this guitar solo as well, with some wah pedal stuff. Very smooth guitar tone, actually. Oh, we're just continuing with this guitar solo. Well, Zedting has a nice voice as a contrast to Zedting has a nice contrast to what was occurring with the tale about the UFO, about the shenanigans there. Kind of remind me of Bigfoot a little bit, to be honest. Like when people talk about finding Bigfoot.
After the various sightings across the world, the government has issued the following statement to the general public. Until we fully understand what is happening, please stay inside your homes and lock your doors and await further instructions.
Yeah, so we're having these sampled or, little vocal parts to tell a story, to kind of switch between with the to change those energy levels a little bit in the overall coloration of the track and the it's very the drums and the bass are keeping consistent the whole way, aren't they? I mean, they're very foundational.
I'm here to discuss the so-called flying saucers. The airport's interest in this problem has been due to our feeling of an obligation to identify and analyze to the best of our ability anything in the air that may have the possibility of threat or menace to the United States.
Returning back to this musical theme here. But this surf rock, are we talking about this being like sort of based around the 50s or 60s or something like that? Or the 70s? I'm wondering what kind of wah pedal that is actually. Whether it's a crybaby or something like that. Nice little bit of delay on that as well, to make it a little bit more ambient and atmospheric. Wow, we're creating a pseudo harmony by delaying those notes on the guitar. Cool. Oh, and that's that. That was UFO. That's track number 1. That's cool. All right. Well, I mean, it told the story well enough. Those little vocal bits talking about the experiences people have with UFOs and being taken and all that kind of stuff, and people being told to stay in their homes. You know, clever stuff. And the music. We've got the Capsule next. Number 2. Oh, we got some hand percussion. Very different to the first one. Cool. It's cool to have that change of pace. Interesting sort of little feedback build there. Awesome violining going on with the lead guitar, with the drums. I wonder where we're going with the Capsule. Nice to hear some of that tom fill work though. I don't really think having the snares at this part would necessarily be helpful. A little bit too sharp for the tonality. A kind of tribal sort of vibe to it. Is this meant to be like chronologically like after the UFO, or are these just different concepts that have been explored?
His mother gave him the one present he wanted more than anything else, a scale model space capsule. Of course, Willie wouldn't take a toy to school, but since his class was studying space flight, he thought his teacher might like to show the space capsule to the class. Willie's friends wanted to get to school early so they could play on the playground. But Willie didn't want to hurry. He was being very careful of his present. The space capsule was the best present he'd ever had, so he carried it very carefully. This is where the trouble started. The ball hit his birthday present.
Ooh, that's a shame. Is this a experience that Carl Anderson has had that he's relating back to?
Willie was so angry at the boys that he took the ball away from them. Best birthday present ruined.
My mother got a pony for my birthday, and now I can't get another one for next birthday.
That kid sounds incredibly upset about that situation, and I can understand that. You know, it sounds like the song is a mourning. It sounds like the music is sad for Willie's loss, man. That loss of innocence, man. That you get when people just show they blatantly just.
Everything that had happened was an accident. No one tried to hurt anyone else. Then why was everyone angry?
That's a good point. Is this sort of talking more about the idea of accidents and how people don't react rationally to things?
Accidents happen sometimes, and sometimes people think they get angry. And when they get angry, they may hurt other people, even though they don't mean to.
Oh. I get it. So this album is basically exploring different concepts that are important to Carl Anderson and everyone else involved, and it's designed to be sort of more of a journey down the philosophical lane. Okay. This is a different approach to it than I've heard before, but I think it's quite cool to have these news samples put in like this. The newsreader Nick Heaven. It's cool. That's cool. I like that. That's a nice sort of original approach. Because, you know, the music sort of sounds like the emotions that the child or whatever. Like, it's almost depressing, the tonality of that guitar line. It doesn't have nearly the charisma that it had in UFO. It's nice to have that emotional range to a performance. Blue Wild Angel, track number 3. Interesting panning there to have the lead on the left is a direct opposite to the rhythm guitar on the right. Obviously careful consideration to where the things need to be in the stereo field, which is good. Kind of works as a call and response. Cool. There's some pretty fiery guitar work going on there. Some pretty good camera-ons and pull-offs. I assume we're going to get some context about this at some point with the newsreader or something like that, but... Oh, cool. Switching the tail of it now. And going to a halftime? Smart move. Especially with an instrumental piece like this, you need to play around with the relative grooves and feels of a song. Interesting use of stereo painting there on that lead guitar, right? It sounds like it's going around your head really mysteriously. A little bit unnerving, actually, to be honest, but I dig it. Okay, and we've just sort of got like an ABC A section or an ABCB sort of progression in terms of the parts of the song so far. And I think that's enough to keep things fresh and interesting. Cool. It's nice to have this tom work, actually. The drummer is incredibly proficient. I mean, so are the bassists and the guitarists. But just knowing... The tone of the guitar is continued throughout this piece, but the drums are switching it up, going between like the cymbals to keep that 8th note groove there at the normal time. And then kind of going to a halftime fill, but then it's changing the rhythms with the tom fills. This is stuff that requires experience. So like understanding of where to put the right hit where, you know? Again, like, and I can tell that these have been recorded acoustically. There's a nice Yeah, I assume they've been recorded acoustically, that these aren't drum samples. I mean, they could be, but I don't think so. But they could, you know, it could be. I don't think so, though. Carl Anston's quite a shredder, isn't he? But like, not in a... He's a melodic shredder. If that makes any sense at all. It doesn't come across as an ego project, which I think is quite helpful. And he's aware that he needs to come back down from these really high intensity solos to make it more of a... he needs to come back to a melodic thing that people can kind of groove along to. Again, and this is where like having your stereo panning sorted out is very helpful, because you've got the rhythm guitar in the center, or like a center stereo field kind of as a ground bed. Then you have the main sort of lead riff there, and then you have this wah kind of wah pedal stuff on. Sorry, the rain theme is on the right, and the wah is on the left. It's important to space stuff out, because otherwise it becomes very claustrophobic. Again, we're including some cymbals now just to increase the intensity and the clarity of the drums in the mix a little bit. And we're fading out here, that's interesting. I don't really think we've had that yet, but that's fine, it's always welcome. And the next track after this, I suppose, is Machina. Yeah, machines. I'm assuming that the story of Blue Wild Angel was told within the music of that. Machina. Or Machina. Cool. So again, some really competent rim shots there. Yep, there's slight changes in the intensity of those hi-hats, which is difficult to map. So I'm assuming it is a drum performance that's been recorded by a professional percussionist. Is that a synth work on the right? With some pads as well, it's cool.
Computers are taking over now. Computers and automation. And in the year 2000, there just won't be enough jobs to go around, and the only jobs there will be for people with high IQ who can work computers and such things. And other people are just not going to have jobs. There just aren't going to be jobs for them to have.
I expect they will set aside parts of the country solely for recreation and have large blocks of built-up areas. And I think these are going to be very ugly indeed, probably.
It's kind of trippy to think it like this. That's an interesting angle to this, talking about people's sort of understandings of how things would be in the year 2000. We're not quite that advanced yet, although everyone has a little friendly robot companion in their pocket, don't they? You know? And for a lot of people, that rules their lives. But nothing quite like they were expecting, I don't think. There's a kind of sci-fi-ish kind of tone to it, like a futuristic utopian kind of this. Yeah, exactly. Those major tonalities in those chords, dude. Boom, 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 boom.
I don't think there is going to be atomic warfare, but I think that there is going to be all this automation. People are going to be out of work and a great population. I think something has to be done about it.
Well, I think people have lost jobs, to be fair.
If I was a biologist, that's what I'd like to do. To do something about the population problem. Try and sort of temper it somehow. I don't know how.
I think it would be very dull, and people would all be squashed together so much there won't be any fun or anything. And
there is a lot of overpopulation.
Things they can have, because if they had too many things, there just wouldn't be room for them.
There, a lot of people have too much stuff. Yeah. So is this meant to be sort of contemplative to get the listener to think about where they stand with machines? And the points that people are making within like the newscast samples? You know, this is a good way of getting around like, because some people are very good at playing instruments but not as good vocally, like they can't sing very well. So to use things like this as like these audio sort of bits from different interviews and all that is a smart way around that. That staggering up there is a nice change of texture to it.
What, in the year 2000, I think I'll probably be in spaceships on the moon dictating robots to robots. Or else I may be, I don't know, in charge of a robot court, judging some robots. Or I may be at the funeral of a computer.
I mean, to be fair, there are people making money off of what automation is doing in robots and stuff like that.
So came back from hunting in the cave.
I think it'd be people who got more statistics and less actual people.
It was nice just to have the bass and the drums there for that last lot of opinions on what the year 2000 would be like. It's nice to have things slow down a little bit just to have the guitar and bass kind of accent certain notes as opposed to having a consistent groove. Again, returning to some of the original melodic themes and musical ideas earlier in the track, which is good. It keeps things connected. You need stuff like this occurring within your songs, especially if they're like 6 minutes long. Again, got the pads and that arpeggiated or sequencer going on there on the right. Now, this is good so far. I can't believe we're over the halfway point. Can't really pause the video here with me coughing, so sorry about that. Yeah. Gotta drink water though when you're reviewing stuff, because otherwise you wreck your throat. Source of that is experience. And then we're just having these pads.
It will be very boring. And everything will be the same. I mean, people will be the same. Things will be the same.
I think the fact that this is encouraging me to put my opinions forward about this subject matter is indicative of the fact that this is pretty effective media. Like, honestly, I think that this has been well written and created. If you are finding yourself wanting to interact with something that you're listening to, as opposed to listening to it passively and zoning out, this means that the creator of it, or whoever, the team, they've nailed it. You need to get the listener's attention and retain it. And doing stuff like this is a smart move. Like, I'm hoping, for instance, that there will be more samples in the Devil's Jazz, considering it's 9 minutes, but considering, again, what I know about this musician, Carl Anderson and co. at this point, I believe that will be the case. Like, they've already shown through the first half of this album that they're able to keep it interesting, and I like that. The Devil's Jazz, number 9.
It didn't bother me.
See you immediately.
Why didn't it bother you? It would bother the average person.
Well, I'm not the average person.
Cool, sweet. Interesting intro, straight into the music after that. Cool. No intro core. Boom. Oh, cool, we got a bit of a swing tempo here. Blues, jazzy kind of thing. Good, smart move.
I understand you're not from a large city area. Are you from a farm or a small town?
Small town.
What part of a small town? The so-called good side of the tracks or the other side?
The other side.
Ah, this is a saxophone, right?
Well, I got in a family argument one night. Was mad at everybody. So I went uptown and I stole a car and started to leave.
What was wrong at home?
That's none of your business.
None of your business. It's nice to have the because if we're talking about the Devil's Jazz, to have the saxophone come in here and have that little extra bit of texture in here, it makes sense for the content. It helps the song to stand out from the others. It's nice to have the guitar and the saxophone work together with these melodies.
And I met a couple of guys in Oklahoma in the bar one night. And, well, they were the same kind of guys as me, so I started talking to them, and we got pretty friendly. And we went out this certain night and robbed about 9 motels.
Damn, I get it. So basically this song is just going to be exploring this person's story and understanding them better. You know, I assume there's just been some really interesting news bits found over the time in interviews. And this is just highlighting some of the questions that maybe, or themes that Carl Anderson wanted to talk about in the music. Again, really smart stuff. I'm liking how tight the bass and drums are with the guitar and sax parts. Again, this is really not missing a singer at all. I think actually having a singer might be detrimental to the experience. Oh, cool. The one of the best examples of call and response I've heard. Smart move.
You were using a gun,
Right,
and you met some fellows in a bar.
that's right.
You said they were something like you. What do you mean by that?
Well, they kind of thought the same way I did, and they wanted the same things I did.
Why would it make a difference to you for a man to get killed? Maybe by your hand.
I wouldn't nobody worry about me if I got killed.
Damn, that's a point.
So I don't worry about anybody else.
Ooh. I mean, it's brutal, but it's a point, and I can understand that. Like, if nobody cares about whether you die, like, it's screwed up, but, you know, there's
lies behind your being in this place.
Got off to the wrong start and young kid. I come in here when I was 19. I've been here 16 years.
16. Robbery with...
Robbery with a gun. Then murder after I got here.
And murder after you got here.
Yes, sir.
Whom did you murder?
I was convicted of murdering an inmate.
So what kind of a sentence do you have now?
Life.
And what does that mean in practical terms?
Forever.
Means forever.
My case, forever.
damn. Alright, so this is talking to different prisoners, I suppose.
From every indication you get from the authority, yes.
All right, what does life look like to you now?
Very dark.
No ray of light.
No, I wouldn't say there was.
It sounds like the guitar solo is kind of mourning the sense of loss that the person has at realizing that they're just never gonna have a life. I mean, like, oh, it's brutal, dude. Again, I see like mentions to like Pink Floyd and Radiohead down there, and I can understand the Pink Floyd reference. Some of the guitar melodies and solos that we've had in here, tone-wise. You got a you have got a progressive rock element to it.
I really don't know what made me go wrong.
That was a hell of a guitar solo there, like just how quick that was. That's an incredibly fluent example of performance.
Federal correctional institution. It was
Well
the
done.
worst thing, if
Not for real, like, hang on today.
There were adults in there, and I had to fight my way through it. And I got beat up
Thought I knocked the
many
mic.
times, very badly. I didn't know anything really about crime until I went there, and they schooled me. And when I came out, instead of stealing a car or a bicycle or what have you, I was ready for the gun. They taught me that there's only one way to go, and that's with a gun. That's where the money is. So when I came out, I picked up a gun, and I've been in and out. Well, I've been out 3 times in my entire life since I started, and I first fell when I was 14.
How old are you now?
I'm 32.
Damn,
And
man.
52.
That's a hell of a life, eh? Imagine being that screw, you know, that... Because that's the thing, people go into these prisons and they come out different people. Because they have to adapt to survive, you know? This song's flowing by though, man. We're already at the 7-minute mark. It doesn't feel like 7 minutes. It's a shame that the saxophone's gone away, but I understand why we have these strings here. It's purely for the emotional content. Sort of a sense of sadness and despair and frustration with the overall situation. And a wish for things to be different. Yeah, it's really giving you a chance to think about what's been told to you, eh? I'm wondering if this is just the song or whether something else will come of it. Yeah, really, it's just repeating this theme again. With, you know, there's some development in the drum parts. So there's different tales to it, you know, occasionally. You know, and we have the bass and the guitar filling our way out. And these very sad sounding strings. Yeah. It's a tale as old as time, my man. People getting screwed or surrender the system. It sucks. And these are some very contentious subjects, but I imagine that they're very important to Carl Anderson. That's what's important when you make music. You got to make music that you care about, and part of that is talking or creating music about subjects that you care about. Rivets. Again, okay, this is very different again to the previous one. I don't think it's chronological at all. Nice to have these sort of messing around with sort of meters, you know, time signature meters. Kind of messing with the listener's expectations for how things are supposed to flow. Okay, we're rolling with this groove. This is the fundamental musical concept. What will they do next? Being performed pretty eloquently. Oh. Oh, what is going on with that guitar tone there? Is that like studio effects on that, or is that the guitar tone itself? It must be a filter or something like that. A ping pong tap delay. Beautiful arpeggios. Again, it's just, I think it's 2 bar chords that have been performed like this. With some violin guitars. Violin, of course, being when you use the volume knob to kind of wah when you, after you play a note. For those who are not aware of what that is. Back with the drums. Nice to hear those occasional open hi-hats for accents. Is there a fuzz or something on that bass guitar? Because I'm loving the tone of it. It sizzles, man. It sizzles. It's incredibly tight, actually, with the guitar and the drum parts. This would have... I'm wondering if they planned this out or if they improvised this on a drum beat or... Because it sounds like the drummer has some agency to do what they want within reason. They're not matching with the guitarist the entire time. Yeah, I'm not really sure what rivets a bit, but I liked the main sort of musical idea of it. I think that it was really cool. That guitar riff was catchy. You can nod your head along to it. You had the occasional change in the time signature to kind of sort of, again, keep things sounding fresh. And in the middle part, it was basically an ABA structure. Again, I'm assuming that songs like Rivets and Blue Wild Angel are personal to Carl Anderson, or they're things that I'm just not aware of. And that's fine. We've got 1st of July. The 7th of the 1st, 11? It's very short. Wondering what the song is about. Again, we've got a lovely vibrato on those strings. Stunning. Assuming that was like a very important date for some reason. Again, all the instrumentalists are holding back a little bit to allow for the gravity, the emotional content of the music to sink in. It's good to know when to go all in and when to step out of it. Oh, there's a tension there. There's a dissonance there. There's a disturbance there. Something is amiss. Someone is unhappy with the situation. The piano line actually is something I've just noticed. It's very simple, isn't it? Again, it's very... but it's effective. It's easy to take in and sort of like absorb it and be immersed by it. it's great to hear these central ideas being kept at and not abandoned. It helps to connect things well. And it's nice sustain on that piano as well. Good work. We've got Missouri Breaks, last track off the album. Where do we go next? What is happening in this one? Well, that's some crazy pitch work. I don't know what's being done with that guitar, dude. That's some trippy sounding stuff going on. Some wild guitar effects nowadays. Some oscillation, like is it for like a synthesizer or something like that? Kind of sounds like a helicopter, doesn't it?
When I get fast, the world gets slow. And when I get slow, the world gets fast. And when I'm in the middle, everything seems to be going okay, and I'm stable. If there's, well, you know, it's kind of like the princess and the pea, you know? I'm just a really sensitive person. Well, what started it was I was just watching the night news program, trying to maintain and cope, when my mother came in and just started yelling and screaming at me. So I just yelled and screamed back, and she said I was crazy. One time, we were doing art therapy, and this lady told me that I wasn't doing the art assignment right. And I do art my own way, and mine was one of the best in the class, really, come to think of it. Oh, God, my hair. I got so mad. I just took out the scissors and cut it off recently. I just don't know what to do.
Who is this person that's talking? They sound like there is a little something going on there that's not quite right. Is this meant to be the sound in their heads? The kind of, the contrast, the juxtaposition, the disturbance? It's incredibly theatrical, should I say. It does a great job of making the listener feel like they might be a part of that world. All of these tracks have. I just don't understand the context for all of them, but that's okay, because this, again, is Carl Anderson's album. I can not understand what a song is about and still appreciate that it's been well done.
I got around to see my mother and my ex-girlfriend, Annie Oakley, existential Marie Stokely. Saw her over Christmas at Poplar Bluff, and boy, did it rain. Anne loves me. You'll see no other lady finer than her, really. Really. I was talking to my older brother on the phone the other day, and he said, well, Rich, how you doing? And I said, well, you know, I've got something wrong with my liver. I might have hepatitis, but that's the fucking breaks. You know, there was a movie, Missouri Breaks.
Oh. Oh. Oh, shit. Oh, that was... That's horrible. I'm sorry to hear that. I get it.
I'm from Oz, or the Ozarks, and our people down there, lo and behold, are the Raiders. Did you see that movie, Raiders of the Lost Ark? Well, oh, if I could just get this thing off. Oh, I almost felt that. You know, there are 3 people on this board from Missouri. There's 2 from St. Louis and 1 from Poplar Bluff. And Pb is the atomic symbol for lead on the elemental chart, and our water has this rust-colored water in it, and lead is some kind of thing for, these dense elements. I got this at the OH, the Opportunity House. We went down there in group, and this lady came out with a shirt and said, "Oh, would you like this? This is something you might like for 50 cents."
This is commenting some kind of dark stuff, isn't it? Again, I'm assuming this is personal to Carl Anderson, and it's a really interesting way of communicating it. Usually people just sing this stuff, but to have this interview to give the context. Nice little pinch harmonic there. Kind of sounds like the guitar is singing itself, Cool, well done. Filling in for an absent vocal melody.
Well, I'll take it off now. Okay. Oh, this is fun. Well, here's what we wear in the hospital. It's my surgeon's gown. Ta! It's so nice and yellow. It reminds me of Baba Ramdas or those Tao people, Hare, hare, om. Om backwards is the abbreviation for Missouri. And the Omni, this bar in town, is O-M-N-I, and backwards I-N. And when I came to Indiana in '76, they dropped the D off the I-N. So Omni backwards is I-N-M-O. In Mo, the two states of the universe. Oh, do you believe me?
Damn. Okay. I'll be right back. I just got to think about this for a sec. When I listen to an album like Missouri Breaks by Carl Anderson, with everyone else involved, it's just one of those albums where I can't really fault it. There was nothing in here which I inherently thought was musically incorrect. I didn't quite understand what Blue Wild Angel and Rivets were about, and I think that 10711 was a little bit of an enigma to me as well. But again, I don't really see how that's an issue. I think that for some of these tracks, again, they were probably very personal to Carl Anderson, or there was a specific reason why there weren't, any sort of samples or anything like that, or newscaster bits or interviews. There's sort of things I don't necessarily recognize because either I'm just not aware of it, or it's okay. It's totally fine. The instrumental performances are on point. I'm just going to turn the camera on, actually. I got to congratulate Carl Anderson on this. Some of these tracks, including like UFO and There Was Jazz, was probably one of the longer songs that I've reviewed, but I really enjoyed it. It was really interesting to hear the stories of the people that were in prison and how it shaped them, how it changed them, and the way that the story was told and mapped out throughout the 9 minutes was very, very effective. It helped me to kind of get into the mindset where I would accept it as a listener, and it led you down that road to realizing that people are getting changed by the system. It's not just that people are born a certain way, or that life that they're not even doing it on purpose. It's just what happens. And there was some there were some statements made about things in here. Well, actually, no, there weren't any statements because it was literally just providing examples. That's the beauty of it, is that it was just Carl Anderson, I think, wanting to discuss certain concepts, but by presenting evidence that they happened. And I think that they were well told. The mixing and mastering was pretty on point. I'm starting to think I need some new headphones because there are some bits where occasionally the vocals were like a little bit quiet, but I think it's just because maybe these headphones are very heavy on the sides or something like that. I don't know, man. I'll go check it out. I'm looking at getting some different headphones anyways, some better ones than these, even though these are like very, very good headphones. It's just, I want to make sure that when I say something, especially when I'm doing these reviews as a professional music reviewer, I don't really, with the amount of reviews I've done, I don't really have the excuse of, it'll improve with time, because I've been doing these over a year. Do you know what I mean? It's the guitar functioned very well as an instrument and as a voice when the vocals or the singer was absent, and it was nice for there to be turns taken with the guitar parts in the lead and the newscastery bits. I think that it was cool to have the saxophone come in as a call and response to the Devil's Jazz part in the beginning. Although it was a shame to not hear more of the saxophone, but it's okay. It's okay. I understand why it was mainly guitar focused after all. It was Carl playing the guitar, bass, and parts, and I think the piano and keys as well. Why they were quite subtle. That's fine. You don't need to have all the elements of a mix the same loudness. There weren't a whole lot of really crazy wild harmonies or melodies in here aside from like the guitar solo bits and some of the jazz notes that were played in the call and response kind of duel. The drumming, the drummer was obviously competent, familiar with the different sort of the like going between his quarters, eighths, sixteenths, and triplets, and used different sort of flam and rolls and stuff throughout. It was good to have the Devil's Jazz with the swing rhythm and the swing groove, and it was cool that we occasionally play with meters, different time signatures as well. I think as well to have the occasional fade out at the end of some of these tracks signaled that we were thinking about how we not only wanted to start and continue them, but also the lasting message from each of these. At the end of the day, I think that each of these tracks had their own unique identity. I'm thinking that they were made in a way that was conducive to a really great listening experience, but also I think that I'm really hoping that Carl Anderson managed to say what he wanted to say within this, because again, it's a very powerful album because it's not easy to pull off this style of instrumental record like this. It's just not at all. There can be the risk of kind of becoming alienated through not being able to figure out what a track is about, and like I don't know, maybe I think there's a certain percentage of people nowadays who need to be handheld through songs that they listen to. So it's great that it was compelling enough to want to listen to regardless, and I thoroughly appreciate it. Missouri Breaks by Carl Anderson. That is effectively my review of this track. If you enjoyed it, this album. I keep saying song. My brain is just album. This is an album. Missouri Breaks. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Although to be fair, Missouri Breaks is also a song, so I guess I'm kind of half right. You know what I mean? Thank you for watching this review of Missouri Breaks, an album by Carl Anderson. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please do go show Carl Anderson some love via his various social medias, and I think he's also got like a YouTube page and Bandcamp and stuff like that. Stay cool and stay safe, and please also remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as they need the help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world, and I'll catch you in the next review. Spiderhands out.